Good afternoon and welcome to this afternoon's Member Spotlight brought to you by Brentwood Chamber of Commerce. My name's Colin Barber and I'm the Chairman of Brentwood Chamber of Commerce, and it's my pleasure to host this afternoon's Member Spotlight. And our guest this afternoon is Bob Clark from Greenhouse Marketing, who we'll be hearing from very shortly. As I say, I'm Chairman of Brentwood Chamber of Commerce, and I'm also a business trainer, coach and consultant specialising in the application of psychology in business. So I run a business called The Management Mechanic, and my key philosophy in business is helping you to understand how people work. So that makes it particularly interesting for me to be able to conduct these member spotlights where we talk to a different member of a Chamber of Commerce each month. So as I say, welcome to the today's member spotlight. I'd like to thank you very much for joining us today. Just a couple of things to mention to you. First of all, today's member spotlight is being recorded and it will be available to view later on, probably tomorrow on YouTube, along with all the previous member spotlights. Also, if you are a member of Chamber of Commerce and you're interested in being the subject of a member spotlight, then do let me know, as we're always looking to chat to other members to find out a little bit more about your business. And one other point to mention to you, if you have any questions for Bob, I'm obviously going to be asking him a few questions about his business, but if you have any particular questions for Bob about himself or his business, Greenhouse Marketing, and then if you hit the Q&A button and just type in your question, then I'll put it to Bob on your behalf. I think that's all I need to tell you really about the background to it. We'll last about half an hour, so let's find out a little bit more about Bob Clark and Greenhouse Marketing. Are you there, Bob? Would you like to...
Yes, hello Colin.
Brilliant, welcome. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. You?
Good, good. Yes, I'm very well, thank you. Yes, and pleased to have you on with us this afternoon to find out a little bit more about yourself, Bob Clark, and also your business, Greenhouse Marketing.
Yeah, well, thank you for the opportunity.
That's my pleasure. I guess the question I always ask people at the moment when I talk to them is, how's it been for the last few months? Has it been a drastic change? Well, how has it been different? I guess it's
yeah, it has been a drastic change. I think everybody's probably been through the same situation. I mean, dealing with COVID is something when perhaps if we sit down at the beginning of the year and we plan ahead about what our goals are going to be and what our challenges might be, nobody would have guessed this. So we had to deal with that. But I found that business now is starting to pick up, and I think it's because I'm finding I'm being approached by previous clients who have had the time to perhaps set the reset button on their business and think about what they're doing, because we've all had to do things in different ways. Our relationship with our customer or our clients has changed. I never used to do Zoom meetings, and now that seems to be the way that a lot of clients want to do business. We found out it's perhaps a more efficient way. And so we've all had to think about our businesses, our products, our services, and the channels of communication. So I found that I've got clients now coming to me I haven't spoken to for a while who said, look, we've been thinking about our business and we'd like to do this or we'd like to do that. So in that sense, it's actually generated some revised clients and new business for me.
Right, so you're sounding fairly upbeat. I always think of times like this are a good time for people to sit back and assess the situation and review where they're going and think of new ideas. And I guess that is obviously one of the things they do think about is how they're marketing their business. So certainly opportunities for organisations like yourself at Greenhouse Marketing.
Well, carry on.
So Bob, tell us a little bit about your background, your career. I mean, I understand you've been running Greenhouse for 17 years, quite a long time, but if we go back before that, your career, your history, your background in marketing, I believe.
Yeah, well, I've always worked in the communications industry. I suppose it was predominantly in advertising and design. My first, I was a very first job leaving school was to work in a graphic studio in an electronics company. But my first, what I would call proper job, was I got the opportunity to join the marketing department at WH Smith. That was in 1976, if my memory serves me correctly. And at that time, Smiths were brand leader in books and in what's called CTN, confectionery, tobacco and newsagents, stationery and music. Not quite where they are at the moment. I don't think they've changed with the times, but this was a long time ago. And it was a fantastic opportunity. And it came about because I was given that opportunity by a chap who became pretty much a mentor in my early part of the life. He took a risk on me. I had no experience, and he gave me the job called Advertising Liaison Executive, which I thought was fantastic. My starting salary was £3,750 a year, and it was just the best experience I've ever had. I was there for 6 years, and I ended up becoming advertising manager at WH Smith before moving on to the next job. And there were loads of career.
As I say, it's difficult to nowadays to imagine how strong and dominant WH Smith were. They were really perceived to be one of the brand leaders in terms of high street retailers, weren't they? And they really have lost their way a lot in the last since you left, I guess.
It's obviously the onset of digital, people not reading newspapers, not reading books, not buying music in shops, and so on. But they'd sort of lost it probably before then anyway. But it was a fantastic company to work for, and I ended up being advertising manager with a budget then of around about 12 million, which by today's prices equates to around about 75 million. So it was quite a substantial budget. And we used media right across the board. Then there wasn't digital media, but we used TV, press, radio, magazines to promote the ranges that WH Smith had. And I suppose my most memorable point in them was that in those days, if anyone who was around in those days, they remember the, if you like, the ant and deck of the day was Morecambe and Wise. And in 1977, their big event was the Christmas show, that half the country would sit down and watch the Morecambe and Wise Christmas show. And we signed them up to do our Christmas marketing or our Christmas advertising. And that was an absolute coup for us. And we didn't pay a penny for it. What we did is the firm WH Smith bought $250,000 of their Christmas annuals. And that was how they received payment. And as part of that also, I had to then go around the country with them, looking after them as they did signing sessions in all the WH Smith branches. So it was a fantastic. That was a fantastic part, the most memorable part of my time, I suppose, at WH Smith. But we did. Look, I learned so much going from absolutely knowing nothing about advertising and marketing to becoming advertising manager of a national retailer.
And you mentioned your mentor. Are you still in contact with your mentor? Or
unfortunately, he passed away. But when I say he became my mentor, he took a risk on me, and he gave me that first job. And he was quite a character. He was advertising manager himself, but he became then marketing manager at WH Smith, and he moved me up to advertising manager eventually. And following that, after 6 years, WH Smith relocated out of central London to Swindon. He nor I didn't want to go, so he moved to Casio and became marketing director at Casio, and he took me with him to become marketing manager at Casio Electronics. And that's the Japanese electronics company that at that time was known for digital watches and calculators and musical instruments. And I was there for a year, and during that time it was my responsibility to put together marketing campaigns with the advertising agency to promote the range of products and to build the Casio brand. And I suppose the highlight at Casio was we launched at that time the G-Shock brand of watches, which has now established itself as a highly desirable brand of watches. But at the time, it was still a Casio. So the challenge was to make that an interesting and a desirable product. So we created quite some anarchic advertising campaigns to target what was then called the Generation Xers, to make the G-Shock a cool watch. So I was there for a year, and then I was approached by some people, or the guys that I knew, having dealt with them when I was at WH Smith at EMI Music. And they asked me, they were setting up a new marketing department at EMI called the Retail Marketing Department, where they were trying to get closer to their major retailers. So they asked me if I'd go and set that department up and run it for them. And this was in 1985 or 86, and it was the year after Live Aid. So again, anyone who was around at that time knew that Live Aid, the impact that Live Aid had on music was just incredible. So I joined EMI at the time that the industry was just gone from being relatively in its doldrums to absolutely new bands, new products, and back catalogue music was just flying out of the stores. So my job was to put together marketing campaigns on our artists with the likes of Virgin, HMV, Woolworths, and WH Smith to sort of build a bridge between, if you like, the supplier and the retailer. Yeah, that was a great experience, but for me it was sort of a bit of a step out of wearing a suit. I suddenly became a cool guy working in a record company, and I loved the job, but it didn't feel comfortable for me. So then I was approached then by an advertising agency to if I would go and help them run, because they'd won the Casio business. They knew about me and they asked me if I would then go and help them run the Casio business.
Wow, so interesting career. And are there lessons that you learned from all those jobs now that you still apply in your business today in terms of
absolutely, totally.
I mean, ones you can think of?
Yeah, well, at that stage and that time, there wasn't any digital marketing. The digital didn't exist. I mean, I like to think that being old school, that I've learnt my trade, because when I started to work, first started work, there was no such thing. There wasn't a photocopier, didn't exist. There wasn't a fax machine. There certainly wasn't a computer. There weren't mobile phones. There was no internet. So you had to learn the business. Whereas if you sort of say now, if your computer goes off or you lose the internet, you stop doing business. So I like to think that then if I was liaising with a client, or with the agency, it was done through a letter or a memo, which seems archaic these days, and obviously on a landline. If we had to present any creative work, then it was actually produced by a visual artist rather than on a Mac. Everything I learned then, basically, although we've now moved into a digital world, the principles and the fundamentals are pretty much the same.
Yeah, I guess the main thing that hasn't changed is people's mentalities. People are still people, and people still buy for the same reasons as they bought.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, one of the biggest probably changes was that in those days, when I worked for the agency, for example, I had clients like Sainsbury's, Superdrug, NatWest Bank. We had a lot of retail clients, and we did business with them by actually going to meetings. And these days things have changed quite a lot, and I do miss if you like, to a certain degree, the sort of personal touch of dealing with clients. Obviously with COVID and as we've been at the moment, then that's not been possible. But even the trends over the last few years is that you're dealing with clients via email or by mobile phone or texting or WhatsApp, and it's changed quite considerably. But in those days, you used to take clients out for lunch and go out for them in the evening, and it was to build relationships, and that's changed a lot, obviously, over the years.
Yeah, it was all about relationships in those days, wasn't it? And who you knew and how you met and all that sort of thing. Yeah, which has changed to a certain extent. Yeah. So tell us about Greenhouse. How did that come about then?
Well, Greenhouse came about because in 2003 I was made redundant by the advertising agency. I was in the agency which is called Sears Nalson for 17 years. It was based in Covent Garden. I started off as account director running the Casio business, and then over those years I became client services director, looking after a team of 12 account handlers and account managers, responsible for all the clients in the agency. But the agency, as we moved into the digital era, the agency really didn't adapt itself to what was coming along. We were producing websites, but we found that clients like, for example, I don't think it would be indiscreet to say that Camelot were paying us 100,000 a month as a retainer, and they suddenly decided that, or realised that if they actually bought a few Macs and hired some designers, they didn't actually need an agency. So as we moved into the digital era, if you like, clients realised that they could actually do a lot of things that we were doing themselves. So the agency business began to suffer. It downsized. I was probably one of the highest earners in the agency, so I was one of the first to go. I always wanted to run my own business, but I didn't have the guts to do it, because when you're earning a decent salary and you've got the perks that go with it, and you can take holidays and still be paid, it would have been a big risk. So this was my opportunity, and I decided to give it a go. Unfortunately, when I left, I didn't, because we had large blue chip clients, I didn't have the opportunity to take those clients with me. So I started off with no clients, and I discovered the benefits of networking. When I worked for the agency and for other companies, I didn't know networking existed. And I was introduced to networking pretty early on when I started Greenhouse, and got myself out there. And through networking, you suddenly get to build relationships, you get to know people, and you eventually win clients.
Do you remember who your first client was?
Oh my God. Well, I know it would have. Well, actually, yes, I do, because it was a mate of mine ran a construction company, and he said, "Well, look, I'll give you some business," and he sort of set me off, and that was certainly that helped. But my first clients came through. I joined a well-known networking organisation, and I was actually in the Brentwood. They called it Chapter then. I think they still call it that now. And my first clients came through that networking, and they tended to be smaller local clients, which is what I tend to focus on now anyway. I didn't say, as I say, I didn't know networking existed until it was introduced to me by someone who I knew, and I thought this was fantastic. I went to my first networking meeting and thought, all I've got to do is turn up and we're going to get loads of business. But obviously it's not quite like that. You've got to build trust, and people have got to know that you can do what you say you're going to do.
So you obviously found the benefits from networking. Are there any other tips you give to someone who's starting up in business now in terms of how to get themselves established, particularly if they haven't got any existing clients?
Well, I would say, and it depends on what field they're obviously operating in. If they're operating in my field, for example, it's to establish exactly what your offer is, to try and make yourself slightly different, because there's a lot of people. It's very easy to set up a business now on your own. A lot of I know designers and web designers can run a business from their bedroom, basically. So it's trying to establish a strong brand, establish what your points of difference are, and then you've got to get out there. You can't do business sitting in your lounge or sitting in your bedroom. It's very easy to sort of perhaps put out loads of social media posts on Instagram or Facebook or wherever and think I'm being very proactive on my business. But you've got to get out and you've got to meet people and you've got to get your message over. So, as I said, I've done networking for quite a while, and that's when I then was introduced to, for example, the Brentwood Chamber, and continued networking with the Chamber, and that's been very successful as well. So definitely don't sit there thinking you're being productive, putting out loads of messages, because messages don't necessarily translate into business.
So what you're saying really is you can't be going out and meeting people face to face and chatting to them and letting them know.
No, absolutely. And if in these days it has to be Zoom networking or whatever it's got to be, get out and spread your message and make contacts, because it's again, it comes. Every business ends up being down to relationships. Yeah.
But the other key point you just mentioned is also about letting people know exactly what it is your business does, because there are so many people starting out in business. And you look at me and think, well, what exactly do you do? What would I want? What service would I want from you? I mean, some people, it's obvious, if you're a plumber, for example, I always use that example, it's very simple, you know what they do. But there are so many businesses where it's not really clear from their marketing or from their publicity exactly what they do. So I think that is a very good point to make sure your customers can see immediately what they would want to use you for.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, a lot of people will go into a niche. There might be perhaps somebody focusing on social media. Somebody might be a web developer or a graphic designer or a marketing consultant, and making sure that you get that message across. When you start up on your own, basically, you'll take any business, because unlike when you're employed, it can be a very swings and roundabouts career, in the sense that you can have very lean months and you can have very rich months, and you have to learn that you've got to try and spread that out, so that you can, if you've got a mortgage to pay and you've got bills to pay, just because you earn a lot one month doesn't mean you're going to necessarily get the same the next month. So you've got to learn to how you spread yourself across the year, and you use the income that you have. Yeah.
So how's your business changed over 17 years now you've been in business? Are you still doing much of the same sort of thing as you did? I mean, obviously apart from the technological advances, are you pretty much doing the same sort of thing as you were doing when you first started out?
Pretty much, yes. I mean, it's I say about specialising, but I suppose we are fairly generalist in what we offer our clients. I was just looking, obviously knowing we were talking today, of what projects we've just completed or we've got on at the moment, and I was just surprised myself at the diverse range of stuff that we actually do. We've just launched a website for a construction company client. Just done a very strange one. At very short notice, we had to produce 110 training manuals to go to another client, and that was everything from sourcing the actual binders to artworking to putting in the dividers. We've just done produced a video, or we're in the process of a video for another client. We've just about to start a CGI for a property developer client. Just launched this week a radio campaign that's going to run for 6 months for an estate agent. We've just done a logo and branding development for an organics company. And so that's quite a diverse range of services that we offer. But that's why I wanted to do greenhouse marketing right in the beginning, because I wanted the variety that will keep me interested.
I should mention at this stage that you did actually redesign the Chamber of Commerce logo last year, so thank you very much for that. And
that's right. Yeah.
That was an interesting experience, and we're very pleased with what
I was
you came up with.
Flattered to be asked, to be honest, and whilst it's always a challenge working with a committee, I think we got there in the end, and it's lovely for me to be able to see the result appearing all over the place. Yeah,
thank you. And do you have many clients in the Brentwood area?
Not a lot in the Brentwood area. They tend to be either more towards, I feel like my catchment area is, in terms of where I might do networking or where I'm looking to build clients, will be anywhere from, I suppose, Colchester through to London. The core of my clients tend to be around the sort of Romford to Brentwood area. I have picked up a couple of clients through the Chamber, which was very satisfying. That's just through, again, I think I produced the marketing material for Tom of ST Extreme Cleaning, who you interviewed a couple of months ago. Right, I met Tom through one of the Chamber events. So
great, excellent.
Yes, so it works.
Good, excellent. Thank you. And also, I understand you mentioned to me that you've got a second business, completely different from marketing. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that? Metallo, is it called?
Yeah, well, I mean, I wouldn't go necessarily so far. It is a business, but we haven't actually sold anything yet. But it was basically a bit of fun. I've started to import sculptures from Thailand, which are a bit unusual in that they are they're made from parts of recycled cars. If anyone's been to Thailand or to Koh Samui, somewhere like that, they may well have seen them in their travels, but they are giant sculptures. Well, the ones we brought over are 3 meters tall, and they weigh half a ton each, or 600 kilograms roughly. We just brought them over because we thought they were fun. And we thought, I set up a business with a friend of mine, and we called it Metallo Design. Actually got a leaflet here. That gives you some. We brought 3 over: a Predator, an Alien, and an Alien motorbike. And they're actually on display. If anyone's in the Brentwood area, if you go out from the on the Ongar Road and you go past the Bentley Golf Club on your right-hand side, then there's a Time for Pets, I think it is, on the left-hand side, and an aquatic centre or aquarium for people who collect fish, and they're on display there. So you're welcome to go anytime and have a look at them. But the idea was that we would see if we could get interest from wealthy individuals that just wanted something cool in their man cave or in their back garden. But also, which has been a bit of a problem with the lockdown, provide them for hire for events and for exhibitions and conferences, because they certainly have massive visual impact. So I encourage anyone to just go and have a look. And every time I go and see them, I'm still amazed by them. I think they're absolutely fantastic.
Interesting. I'll look out for them next time I go down that road.
Yeah.
So if anyone knows how to market it, I'm sure it's you. So I wish you every success with that.
It's a challenge.
Yeah, but it's gives you something different to focus your attention on, doesn't it? And it's obviously apply the principles which you apply to other people, which is apply it to your own business. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's right.
So what about your future plans, Bob? Are you going to carry on with Greenhouse as it is? Or?
Yes, yeah. Well, yeah, Greenhouse is still my my core business. If Metallo takes off, that will be fantastic, because I'll look forward to some buying trips over to Thailand. I do 1 or 2 little things as well. I've got into a little bit of property development and so on. But no, Greenhouse is marketing, design, advertising. Has always been my first love, and that's what I sort of continue to do. Always looking for new clients. So if anybody who's looking in, or maybe looking at the recorded version of this, would just like to have a conversation, I'm more than happy, with no obligation, just to come and have a chat to see how you might want to grow your business.
Great. Okay. Well, thanks very much for joining us, Bob. That's been really interesting. And of course, if any of you do have any marketing requirements, then do contact Bob. And as he just mentioned, if you didn't catch the beginning of this webinar, then it will be uploaded to YouTube tomorrow, so you'll be able to watch it on YouTube along with some of the previous webinars which we've all got uploaded there. I just want to give you some details of our next webinar, which is in September. We haven't actually confirmed the date yet, but it'll be roughly a month from now, and that's with Hallmark Care Homes, who are just starting up, well, they're not just starting up a business, but they're just opening up a care home in Hutton, which is apparently state of the art, and interesting to hear about their story. So more details will follow shortly, but that will be in September. And as I say, if you are interested in being in the member spotlight to find out a little bit more, to enable the members to find out a little bit more about your business, then do let me know. If you send an email to info@brentwoodchamber.co.uk, we'll be happy to hear from you. So all that remains really is for me to thank you all very much for joining us this afternoon, and obviously particularly thank you, Bob, for your fascinating story, and wish you all a pleasant week, and look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Thank you, Colin.